one more review, and that is War Horse. I'm going to review this because I went and sat through it. Okay, War Horse is a Steven Spielberg movie, and it's about Joey the horse. That's his real name. And his young trainer, Albert. Joey basically gets sold by Albert's dad after he helps his dad save the fucking farm, by the way. And then basically the entire movie is following Joey through the course of World War I as he encounters like various parties in World War I and kind of the different sides of the war. And basically it's you follow the horse and his journey through World War I. All the while, Albert really wants his horse back. The horse seems like he wants to eat, I guess, and I don't really know what else he wants. It's really the most straightforward description I can give. I mean, the whole movie is Albert raises the horse, trains the horse. The horse is obviously very special, very miraculous. He ends up doing things that people keep saying horses can't do. He plows a basically concrete field. I mean, and, gets their family farm, saves the family farm because they can grow crops. But unfortunately, because of money issues, they have to sell the horse to maintain the farm later on. Because the war started, apparently they were drafting horses and shit. I don't know. But they're paying people for horses. Horse gets in the war, ends up being a cavalry horse for both sides. Also meets some families that are being affected by the war. I mean, the horse basically wibbles. It's kind of like a dog movie with a really big dog. So, I don't know. The acting's very good. It's a little cheesy at times. There's a lot of character actors in the movie. You do start to feel for the horse. I think the horse actor, I guess, did a very good job of looking wistfully at the camera. And seriously, it always has those scenes in any kind of animal movie where you see the animal and they're looking very stoic and heroic and that sort of thing. And that's this movie. There's a lot of Steven Spielberg shots of this horse looking like he's taken to battle, and it's won the war kind of thing. Just looking around and
says that look in his eye once more unto the breach, dear friend, once more.
Exactly. That horse is just looking around like, I got this, partner.
Holds up a hoof. Yo, I got this.
I got this. Don't fuck with me. The only acting I didn't like was Albert, the kid that plays Albert, or is a young man that plays Albert. It's a little too Little House on the Prairie for me. Way over the top, very sappy. Runs around screaming, Joey! I miss you, Joey! Where's Joey? He does that a lot. A lot. And if it wasn't for him, I would put this movie up a lot higher on the scale of what I liked and what I didn't like. But he started to grate on my everlast fucking nerve because it just seemed so forced. Everybody else seemed so natural. There's a lot of character actors. There's a young girl and her grandfather, and they encounter Joey, and the little girl is just awesome. She's a wonderful little actress, very precocious, perfect for a young girl. The grandfather, very well done. The military personnel that the horse ends up encountering, very well done. The only the acting that I didn't like, which Spielberg usually has quite a knack for young actors, is the lead, and that's his name is Jeremy Irvine. I just didn't like him. I didn't like him. He was too cheesy, way too over the top. But everybody else did a splendid job. The movie's filmed very old-fashioned. It's definitely a movie Spielberg is trying to get you and your family to go see, perhaps with your grandparents or something like that. And I've read that he actually made this so his father and grandfather could watch it and not be, offended because they didn't like a lot of violence and swearing and that sort of thing. And a lot of the violence happens off screen, so you don't really see. It's not like Saving Private Ryan. Nobody's getting shot in the temple and you see heads fall. So it's done very old fashioned, very 1950s, 60s feel. Action.
I had actually heard there's only about 7 or 8 minutes of actual war footage.
I would give it a little bit more than that, but I mean, there's not much. But there's a lot of stuff that happens because of the war, and there is some violence that happens because of the war. That's kind of taken off screen. I mean, there's actually one scene that's kind of very disturbing, but I don't really want to go into it because it would spoil a big part of the movie.
Does it involve glue?
No, that's what I kept. Unfortunately, I actually leaned at my wife at one point and said, "This movie would be far more interesting if it was the story of glue." So I felt bad for that, but
I never thought I'd live to see the day where I would. Excuse me,
where
I'm
you
sorry.
cough up a furball?
Where I'd have next to no interest in the Steven Spielberg movie. Now, if it were called Horse War, I might be interested, but I just have no. This sounds absolutely boring to me.
Well, let me finish. Action scenes that are in there, done well. They don't show much of the violence, but the pain of war and all that shit is definitely conveyed. The whole movie, the entire movie, when I left, the whole thing felt cliche to me. Everything that is there that you expect to see from a Spielberg movie, I mean, the acting, the emotion, the story, it's all there, but it just felt very by the numbers, very bland. It just, I don't know. Do you guys ever watch a movie and you think, this is just too neat? Like it's too wrapped up in a bow? That's what this was. Yeah. I mean, it feels like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to laugh. This is where I'm supposed to cry. This is where I'm supposed to go, oh, you horse looking so wistful. It's just bland. I mean, it wasn't bad. I can't point to anything and say that was bad, but I can point to the whole movie and say, I wouldn't want to see it again. So, I don't know. Is this something any of you wanted to see? Any of you? Well, I know, Brian, you wanted to see it, didn't you?
I don't know about wanted. It was.
He does now.
No, the preview, it looked like one of those movies where somebody dies at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I said, I don't know. I didn't see it, and don't tell me if they did, but it just looks like one of those movies where either the boy or the horse is going to die at the end of the movie. And I don't know if I really want to see that. So
I would say it's, if you buy into the story, if you get into it, it's a heartwarming story. It's very uplifting. The horse does overcome a lot of turmoil and whatnot. There is one scene, it's probably about 3/4 of the way in, where it's hard to describe without spoiling it, but the horse basically becomes trapped in one way or another. And that scene where it kind of brings two parties together was actually very sweet, even though it was fucking ridiculous when you watch it. But it was actually very sweet. But overall, the movie was just so cliched. It really was. I knew everything was going to happen 20 minutes before it happened. So, that said, if you're looking for a movie your grandparents can go see with you, or your parents, or maybe are a little old-fashioned, they don't like today's violent-ass cinema, this is a good, decent flick to take them to. They'll probably love it. My wife loved it. But she also gets weepy over anything where animals get injured or look funny, Seriously, just throw it, like the Zoo movie, Brian, she'll be all over that shit. That'll be her movie of the year. There's like 40 animals in it. Oh my God! It's the best movie ever. So if $10 is the full price of admission, I'd pay $6.50. So it's not bad, it's just kind of boring.